much on a sporting pitch every 4 years.
ओलंपिक मेडल ने मुझे ये सिखाया कि किस तरीके से अपने आप को संभालना है.
The world's best sporting talents are assembling in Paris later this month. The quest for an Olympic medal is sport's greatest pursuit.
I think people are looking at the Olympics with a lot of hope. More than 200 countries all coming together.
The Olympic Games return to the French capital after a century.
There's not really any cities that compare to it.
Catch all the build-up to the Paris Games on WION World is One.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. With Joe Biden out of the race to the White House, tonight on Gravitas, we look at how things reached this point. We tell you how Biden fell on his own sword. We also look at what lies ahead. Can Kamala Harris defeat Donald Trump? Here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We get to the latest on the Israel-Hamas war as Netanyahu heads to Washington. We also tell you about the sentiment back home for him. What do Israelis really feel about his handling of the hostage crisis? What is the Chandipura virus? Why is it a cause for concern? We tell you the story of how India is currently dealing with the threat of two other viruses, the Nipah virus and the Zika virus. We tell you all that you need to know. Can India's budget 2024 reduce wealth disparity? A very crucial question. We get you a special report. You do not want to miss this story. Does Mercury have large deposits of diamonds? It's a story that is out of the world, quite literally. We tell you what a study says. All this and more lined up for you tonight.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be Vice President. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. My memory is fine.
Joe Biden has exited the race to the White House. He will no longer be running for re-election. Biden has put an end to months of speculation. Biden says, I'm quoting, while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down, quote unquote. And the question we are asking tonight on Gravitas is, did Joe Biden really have a choice? Come to think of it, he fell on his own sword. Let's just recap for you what the last few weeks looked like and how things really reached this point. On the 27th of June, Biden faced off with former US President and Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump in a debate. Biden's blank stare was caught on camera. When he spoke, Biden lost his chain of thought. He was mumbling, at times freezing. Donald Trump capitalized on this. In fact, at one point, Trump said, and I'm quoting here, "I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either." Unquote. There was no excuse for Biden's disastrous performance. On the 2nd of July, Lloyd Doggett became the first Democratic congressman to publicly call for Biden to step down from the race. And over the next few days, big Democratic donors, including the Netflix co-founder Reed Hastings, were calling on Biden to drop out of the race. And this gave ammunition to the president's critics who were pointing the finger at Biden's age and questioning his ability to run for re-election. Biden's campaign arranged interviews for the president with the aim to show that what happened at the debate was a one-off. But Biden's answers in those interviews did not help the cause. For example, Biden told ABC, and I'm quoting here, "If the Lord Almighty came down and said, 'Joe, get out of the race,' I would get out of the race. The Lord Almighty's not coming down," quote unquote. This was on the 5th of July. At this point in time, Biden had absolutely no margin for errors, but the president's public appearances continued to be disastrous. On the 11th of July, Biden called Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky President Putin.
And now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
You see, for years now, Biden has been mixing words, names, countries. He has previously called Ukrainians Iranians. He has confused living leaders with the dead. He has confused French President Emmanuel Macron with France's François Mitterrand, who died in 1996. He has twice confused former German Chancellor Angela Merkel with Helmut Kohl, who died in 2017. But there is no space for these verbal gaffes in the run-up to the presidential election. Things got worse on the 12th of July. This time, Biden referred to Vice President Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump.
Picked Vice President Trump to be Vice President, but I think she was not qualified to be President. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
While Biden's actions triggered panic among the Democrats, Trump's campaign was gaining momentum. On the 13th of July, there was an attempt to assassinate Donald Trump.
Take a look at what happened. Let me get my shoes on.
Hold on, your head is bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus.
And this incident elevated Trump to a hero status. The iconic image of Trump holding up his fist in the air with the American flag in the background galvanized his supporters. At the GOP convention in Milwaukee, the Republicans put up a united front. Even Nikki Haley, who was once seen as Trump's strongest competitor, put her weight behind Trump. Michael Whatley, the chairman of the Republican National Committee, celebrated Haley's presence as a sign that the Republicans are, quote-unquote, completely united right now, united like we've not been in generations. The Democrats, meanwhile, were seen pushing for a delay to nominate Joe Biden. Were they unsure of Biden's ability to lead the party to victory? On the 17th of July, Adam Schiff became the most high-profile Democrat to call for Biden's withdrawal from the race. In a statement, Schiff said it was time for Biden to, quote-unquote, pass the torch. And the same day, reports said Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer privately confronted Biden about his re-election bid. In private conversations, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi also reportedly told Biden that his staying on could impact the party in the presidential election and the midterms. Reports say House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries too confronted the president. The fear among the Democrats was that their other candidates may lose as well if Biden underperforms. The numbers were stacked against the Democrats. Polls after polls, Trump was seen leading against Biden. This was even before the assassination attempt. Also, after the presidential debate, 6 states showed a shift in the support base. Minnesota, New Hampshire, Nebraska's 2nd congressional district moved from likely Democratic to lean Democratic post-debate. Nevada, Arizona, Georgia moved from toss-up to lean Republican. And this, by the way, also explains why, in the hours leading up to Biden's public letter, reports suggested that former President Barack Obama, who was once Biden's strongest supporter, was now working behind the scenes to convince Biden to drop out of the race. So we are back to the question, did Biden really have a choice but to step aside? You see, it was all building up. In February, for example, the special counsel investigating Biden's handling of classified documents described the president as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, quote unquote. And the way Biden reacted to the report did not quite help.
That's
your memory has gotten worse, Mr. President?
My memory is not good. My memory is fine. My memory, take a look at what I've done since I become president. None of you thought I could pass any of the things I got passed. How'd that happen?
One of the many reasons why Biden did not have a choice but to fall on his sword.
Closing up order and finishing. I will end the illegal immigration.
And look at what all this has meant for Kamala Harris. From being a running mate, she has now emerged as the likeliest presidential candidate from the Democratic Party. With just over 100 days left for the election, can she become the first ever female president of the United States? Or will Donald Trump beat her if things look that way? Only time will tell. What remains certain, though, is that they both have a lot on their plates. We start off first with Kamala Harris. Even though President Joe Biden has endorsed her, it remains to be seen whether she gets consensus from within her party or will there be an open convention. If it is indeed the former, Harris has multiple facets in her favor for challenging Donald Trump. Kamala Harris is renowned for leading the charge for women's reproductive rights, a very crucial point. Since the Supreme Court's decision to end the constitutional right to abortion, the issue has become a major topic in American politics. As a woman and an advocate, Harris is uniquely positioned to challenge the stance of Trump and J.D. Vance, who have often been dubbed as the most anti-women ticket in American history. Harris's identity contrasts starkly with the Trump campaign that is often perceived by political analysts as having white, supremacist and racist undertone under the umbrella of Make America Great Again. As the daughter of immigrants, Harris can effectively counter the anti-immigrant policies that the Republican Party has promoted. Furthermore, Harris's experience as a prosecutor equips her with the skills to present her case effectively to the American public in a way and to make any debate with Trump a formidable challenge. As per reports, the Trump campaign had been more concerned about running against Harris than Biden, believing that Harris is more adept at addressing issues like abortion rights and Trump's legal troubles. Harris is known to capture public attention with her humor and relatable phrases, which often go viral on social media. Let's now talk about what the polls are saying. The recent polls showing little difference between how she and Biden fare against Donald Trump. According to an average of 11 recent polls, Trump leads Harris by 1.5 percentage points, only slightly less than his 1.9-point lead over Joe Biden. Harris's supporters argue that these polls may shift now that Biden is out of the race. Meanwhile, Trump's campaign is working towards pivoting its strategy, and reports suggest they are likely to paint Harris as a radical left. Given the latest developments, the question is, how will Trump reinvent his campaign? Trump has reportedly already started crafting attack ads targeting Harris's current record in office and her past as California's Attorney General, framing her as weak on crime and a part of the failed Biden administration. Trump has also wasted no time in linking Harris to Biden, claiming that they have the same records in office and that there is no distance between them. As per reports, Trump is also aiming to revive criticism from the 2020 Democratic primary, where Harris faced backlash for being too lenient on crime and first-time drug offenders. During her tenure as California's Attorney General, a possible race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump may shape up to be a historic and fiercely contested battle. With Biden out, both campaigns are scrambling to adapt and strategize for the months ahead. On that note, cutting straight across to Kamala Harris speaking at this point, let's listen in.
Our President, Joe Biden, wanted to be here today. He is feeling much better and recovering fast, and he looks forward to getting back on the road. And I wanted to say a few words about our president. Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap. In one term, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who have served 2 terms in office. And I first came to know President Biden through his son, Beau. We worked together as attorneys general in our states, and back then, Beau would often tell me stories about his dad. He would talk about the kind of father and the kind of man that Joe Biden is. The qualities that Beau revered in his father are the same qualities that I have seen every day in our president. His honesty, his integrity, his commitment to his faith and his family, his big heart, and his love, deep love of our country. And I am firsthand witness that every day our President Joe Biden fights for the American people, and we are deeply, deeply grateful for his service to our nation. And so with that, on behalf of our President and Dr. Biden, I am honored to welcome all of you to the White House to celebrate the achievements of these great athletes. Every one of them is a national champion, a national champion. In America, tens of millions of people play a sport as a child, and the best of the best grow up to become national champions. Here today, we have 7 undefeated teams, 11 repeat champions, and 20 first-time winners.
All right, so that's Kamala Harris speaking for the first time since we had Joe Biden endorsing her as a replacement as far as the run to the White House is concerned. A very crucial choice of words there as far as Joe Biden's legacy is concerned, calling his legacy unmatched and praising his accomplishments as a leader of the country. Kamala Harris there speaking out. Remember, it's been a very interesting turn of events with Joe Biden stepping out of the race, and it's looking like a very crucial few weeks ahead for both the camps as they strategize what the election is going to look like. Shifting focus for now, for how long can Netanyahu sabotage a ceasefire, if at all? As Netanyahu heads to Washington, where he will be addressing the U.S. Congress, the stakes are as high as they can be. Netanyahu left from Israel for this visit at a time when there is mounting domestic pressure to agree to a truce and hostage release deal. Let's just take a step back. What are things looking like on the ground? Where is the Israel-Hamas war headed? In the latest, in Gaza, Israeli tank shelling and airstrikes killed at least 37 Palestinians near Khan Yunis, according to Gaza medics. 37 Palestinians. By the way, this comes after Israel issued new orders to evacuate some neighborhoods, following what it said were renewed attacks from those areas. The Palestinians were killed by tank salvos in the town of Bani Sohela and other towns just east of the southern city of Khan Yunis, with the area also bombarded by air, according to them. Let me tell you what the latest numbers look like. The health ministry in Gaza has said at least 39,006 people have been killed in the war, the toll including 23 deaths in 24 hours. Now, that's just one part of the story. As tensions escalate and concerns grow over a wider war, the Israeli military has said it intercepted a missile fired from Yemen early Sunday. This was hours after Israeli warplanes, remember, struck several Houthi targets. The Israeli airstrikes came in response to a deadly Houthi drone strike on Tel Aviv. We told you about this. Meanwhile, the Israeli army late on Saturday confirmed the airstrikes in the western Yemeni port city of Hodeidah. It said the strikes carried out by dozens of aircraft, including US-made F-15 and F-35 warplanes, were a response to hundreds of Houthi attacks. But again, with Netanyahu off to Washington, question marks hanging over a ceasefire, what really are things looking like for him back home? What do the Israelis think at this point? What is the mood on the ground right now? What do they feel about Netanyahu's handling of the hostage crisis? Sample this. As per a new poll, 70% of Israelis think Netanyahu is not doing enough to get hostages released. That's right. Let me tell you what a survey conducted by Midgam Research Agency has revealed. 70% of Israelis say Netanyahu is very or somewhat responsible for failing to reach a deal to free the Israeli hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. 70%. Only 21% believe that the Prime Minister is doing enough to reach a deal. Now, this is a strong message for Benjamin Netanyahu, to say the least. The question is, will he sabotage a ceasefire? And if yes, for how long? Jammu and Kashmir has witnessed a steep rise in terror attacks in the last few months. Earlier today, terrorists carried out an attack on an army camp in the wee hours in Rajouri area of Jammu. Our next report getting you all the details. Take a look.
A major attack was repulsed in Jammu and Kashmir's Rajouri district on Monday morning. The Indian Army said that terrorists fired upon the house of a VDC at Gunda, Rajouri at 3:10 am. A nearby army column reacted and a firefight ensued. According to sources, one army Jawan was injured in the operation. A massive search operation is being carried out by forces in the area, with the Jammu and Kashmir police chief accepting that around 70 to 80 foreign terrorists are active in the Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Most of them are believed to be in the Jammu region. The Pir Ranjal range in Jammu has suddenly become a hub for terror activities. The dense forest range and the steep mountains have become a safe haven for these newly infiltrated terrorists. Terrorists are continuously targeting security forces in Poonch, Rajouri, Kathua, Riyasi, Doda and Udhampur districts. In 2024, Jammu had 15 terror attacks and 13 security personnel were killed during these attacks. Sources in the security forces say that around 25 to 30 foreign terrorists who have recently infiltrated are active in the Doda and Chenab Valley belt, with the same number being active in the Poonch Rajouri belt. All these terrorists have been divided into small groups and are moving from one place to another and are carrying out these attacks and ambushes. All these active terrorists have been highly trained and laced with the latest sophisticated weapons and have special training to carry out attacks in higher reaches and tough terrains. These terrains and dense forests of pine trees with natural caves are a big advantage to them to take cover and to launch attacks. Most of these attacks that have taken place in the Doda area have been claimed by Kashmir Tigers, an offshoot of the terror group Jaish-e-Mohammed. And most of the attacks that have taken place in Poonch and Rajouri were claimed by the People's Anti-Fascist Front of Jaish and Lashkar. According to some top officials, the active terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir are highly trained and have recently infiltrated in the past 6 months from Shamashwari hills of Kupwara range of Kashmir and have managed to reach Chenab Valley and the Poonch Rajouri sector. The terrorists have also infiltrated from the international border. However, both the Poonch Rajouri and Doda Kathua Riyasi batches have the same modus operandi. They have the same level of military training, reconnaissance capability, aversion to use of technology and similar guerrilla warfare tactics. One of the most important aspects is that these terrorists are not using traceable technology such as phones. WION had recently done a story on how these terrorists are using ultraset and radio frequency messenger that cannot be intercepted for communication and has no SIM card. These terrorists also very rarely visit villages and use over-the-ground workers. The security forces in Jammu and Kashmir have developed a new strategy to counter the new strategy of terror groups. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Shifting focus for now, a virus is killing children in India. It is called CHPV or Chandipura viral encephalitis. As per reports, this virus has claimed 32 lives. Cases have been reported from Gujarat, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. In Gujarat, authorities say they have screened over 50,000 people. District and rural hospitals have been told to send samples of suspected cases to the National Institute of Virology in Pune. Maharashtra is on high alert. Officials have been told to strengthen surveillance. First, what is the Chandipura virus and what do we know about it? It belongs to the Arhab Dovedre family of viruses, which includes the likes of rabies. But unlike rabies, which mostly spreads from the saliva of infected dogs, cats and bats, the Chandipura virus spreads through female phlebotomine sandflies and mosquitoes. It includes the Aedes aegypti, which is the dengue mosquito. What happens once these mosquitoes bite you? The infection spreads in your body, symptoms including sudden fever, diarrhea, vomiting, impaired mental functioning. The patient may have difficulty speaking, seeing things, or even balancing herself. And there are other symptoms like headache, stiff neck, even seizures. This virus mostly affects children under the age of 15. If you take the 2002 outbreak, for instance, the patients were between 9 months to 14 years of age. And this time as well, all the suspected deaths have been of children. What this virus does is results in the swelling of a child's brain tissues and in many cases ultimately leads to death. The virus was first identified in India in a village in Nagpur. This was in the year 1965. It is from that village of Chandipura that the virus reportedly gets its name. And in the years that followed, there were outbreaks in Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Gujarat, also Maharashtra. Is there a vaccine for the Chandipura virus? Unfortunately, there isn't. So all bets are on prevention and early diagnosis. What can you do to protect your children? Ensure that they wear protective clothing, use insect repellents, use mosquito nets, keep the surroundings of your house clean. Ensure proper waste management, and if your child shows any symptoms, do not delay in rushing her to the hospital. And that's not all. India is grappling with the spread of two other viruses, Nipah and Zika. The Nipah virus has already claimed one life this week. Meanwhile, the Zika virus is spreading in Pune in Maharashtra and the case numbers have risen. How and from where do these viruses originate? What are the authorities doing to prevent the spread? And what can we do to protect ourselves? Here's a detailed report.
A 14-year-old boy has lost his life in Kerala. This marks the first casualty of this year to the deadly Nipah virus. According to the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Nipah is a serious and sometimes deadly viral disease. This virus is spread by fruit, bats, and can make people and other animals sick. Nipah virus can be spread from person to person. Nipah outbreaks are common across parts of Asia, predominantly in India and Bangladesh. This virus has an alarming casualty rate of 40 to 70%. In the latest case from Kerala, the victim is said to have consumed fruits that were contaminated by bats. According to the Kerala government, 350 people are on the contact list of the boy who lost his life to the virus. This has given rise to an alarming situation, especially given that 101 of these 350 suspects are in the high-risk category. Few of these suspects and those with symptoms are spread across parts of Kerala, which means that there is a high likelihood of more infections emerging. So, how is the Kerala government dealing with this challenging outbreak? Nipah outbreaks are not new in Kerala. It has been a recurring phenomenon over the past 6 years. The Kerala Health Department is now tracing the victim's route map and has alerted suspected contacts. To prevent the spread of Nipah, basic hygiene such as washing hands with soap and masking up, maintaining social distancing can help. Most importantly, in rural areas, people must avoid contact with flying fox bats or pigs, avoid touching or consuming anything that could be contaminated by bats, etc. In Pune, in the state of Maharashtra, a different kind of virus is causing concern, the Zika virus. A doctor and his daughter were the first two to be affected. And now the case count has reached 7. Of this, 2 infected persons are pregnant women. While the condition of the patients are not severe, there is a bigger danger when women who are expecting get infected by the Zika virus. It could end up affecting the fetus. This is a condition known as microphthalmia. where the newborn baby's head is significantly smaller due to abnormal brain development. Zika virus is transmitted through the bite of an infected Aedes mosquito. This mosquito is also known to transmit common infections like dengue and chikungunya. The local health department in Pune is conducting surveillance. However, this is also the period with the southwest monsoon active. Hence, it is an ideal breeding time of mosquitoes in stagnant water. Now the authorities are undertaking fogging and fumigation of stagnant water and residential areas to curb the breeding of mosquitoes. Maharashtra has reported 28 Zika cases this year, the highest since 2021. Of this, Pune alone accounts for 24 cases. Most people with Zika virus infection do not develop symptoms. However, typical symptoms include rashes, fever, conjunctivitis, muscle and joint pain, and headache that lasts for up to a week. There is no specific treatment available for Zika virus infection. People with symptoms should get plenty of rest, drink fluids, and treat symptoms with prescribed medication. Most importantly, people must ensure that they are well protected from mosquitoes in both their homes and offices, where most people spend a substantial chunk of their day.
We now move on to Pakistan, where there is a swirling controversy surrounding former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan's imprisonment. Imran Khan claims he is being treated like a terrorist in his cell, but the government insists he is living in comfort. And as the argument rages on, we are left to wonder about the true nature of Khan's imprisonment. Let's tell you what we know so far. But the question remains, who is lying and who is telling the truth? Imran Khan has been in Rawalpindi's Adiala jail since August last year. Convicted in several cases, he paints a grim picture of his conditions. In an interview with British daily The Times few days ago, Khan described his cell as a 7 by 8 feet death cell typically reserved for terrorists. He says he is in solitary confinement under constant surveillance and denied basic rights like visitation. According to Khan, this is nothing short of political persecution. Let's now flip the coin. The Pakistan government dismisses Khan's claims as exaggerated. Information Minister Ataullah Tarar has reportedly said that Khan is living in a presidential suite with amenities like an exercise bike, a private kitchen, and a lavish menu. The government, in fact, insists he meets with lawyers, friends, and family 3 times a week. In June, the government submitted photographs of Khan's cell to the Supreme Court. These images reportedly showed a well-furnished room with an LED TV, cooler, study desk, and more. Reports say they also showed exercise equipment, a stocked kitchen, and a collection of books, contradicting Khan's claims of harsh treatment. Also, remember, this is Pakistan we are talking about, where terrorists are often regarded in high esteem. Hafiz Saeed, the mastermind of the Mumbai terror attacks, for example, was often showered with petals on his way to court. While Khan's supporters and his party members from Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf see his claims as a clear sign of political persecution, the government accuses him of seeking sympathy. Meanwhile, the Pakistan police on Monday raided and sealed PTI offices across Islamabad. Acting party chairman Gohar Khan and Information Secretary Rauf Hassan were among those who were detained by the police. The raid was carried out just a week after the Pakistan government said it planned to disband Khan's party on account of inciting violent protests in 2023 and for leaking classified information. Now remember, there have been several court rulings in July in PTI's support. Pakistan Supreme Court recently issued a ruling stating that PTI should be given 23 additional seats in the parliament. This meant that the existing coalition would lose 2/3 majority, vital for passing bills and reforms. And as the debate over Khan's jail treatment rages on, one thing is clear: the former Prime Minister's imprisonment remains a contentious issue, stirring strong emotions and divergent opinions across Pakistan and beyond. India is among the fastest growing economies in the world. Since 2014, the focus has been on increasing India's clout as a manufacturing and trade hub. The upcoming budget is expected to continue focusing on growth reforms. But can it counter the evils of poverty and wealth disparities? More importantly, can India's development reach every nook and corner of the country? The recently released Household Consumption Expenditure Survey paints a mixed picture of India's economic landscape. On the positive side, monthly per capita consumption expenditure has doubled over the past 11 years. This indicates a rise in living standards with a narrowing urban-rural gap and a shift towards a more nutritious diet. However, a closer look reveals some concerning trends. Firstly, despite consumption growth, it hasn't kept pace with the much faster nominal GDP expansion, and this suggests that the economic benefits are not being evenly distributed. Secondly, significant disparities persist. 90% of rural India spends less than $64 per month, with the bottom 10% struggling at $21. And coming to wealth disparity, a recently released Oxfam report shed light on a glaring data point. 5% of Indians own more than 60% of the country's wealth. Moreover, top 1% hold 40% of the total wealth. In fact, India is also among the top countries with high income and wealth inequality. Wealth concentration has amplified in recent years, with COVID-19 fueling a record boom in billionaires' wealth while the poor suffered. Oxfam report noting that the total number of billionaires in India increased from 102 in 2020 to 166 in 2022. The report also states that the combined wealth of India's richest could fund the entire union budget for more than 18 months. While poverty is on a decline, according to Niti Aayog, Multidimensional Poverty Index is cited as a better parameter for a clear picture of poverty in the country. And looking beyond the data, the findings highlight the need for policy interventions that promote inclusive growth. The vast disparities in consumption expenditure call for measures that address income inequality and bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. Additionally, ensuring minimal market distortions and fostering an environment that benefits all sections of society are crucial for sustainable economic progress. All eyes are on the upcoming budget and what it has in store for India's economic future. Shifting focus for now, if you are on social media, then chances are that you have seen this photo of a person driving an auto rickshaw wearing a Microsoft hoodie. Now, why do you think this photo has gone viral? Because this is not just another auto driver wearing a hand-me-down hoodie. The person driving the auto rickshaw is actually a Microsoft employee. You heard that right. The man in the photo is a 25-year-old software engineer working with Microsoft. He stays in India's Silicon Valley, Bengaluru, and he is not driving an auto in order to get a photo for his Instagram page. This is actually what he does on weekends. He moonlights as an auto rickshaw driver. Now, is he not getting paid enough? Is the employee struggling to make his ends meet? Or does he just like driving an auto rickshaw for the thrill of it? None of the above, apparently. According to the netizen who shared this photo on social media, the Microsoft employee drives the auto on weekends to fight loneliness. The post, the photo, the story divided the internet. Some saying it's a good thing that the techie knows how to take care of mental health. Others pointing at how sad the entire situation is. That despite having a good job at a reputable company, the techie is lonely. Then again, some other netizens point how there is a global trend where employees take up part-time jobs that are very different from their full-time jobs. People work at bars, drive radio cabs, work as dog walkers, even swimming instructors or lifeguards in order to de-stress. Now, there are two reasons why I'm telling you this story tonight. Number one, so that you realize how loneliness has become a growing problem. Number two, there is a need to destigmatize loneliness. There is a need to address this problem, and there is no need to be afraid to seek help or do what may appear as unconventional in order to beat loneliness. You may have heard the very popular tagline, "Diamonds are forever." Of course you have. And why are we talking about diamonds tonight, you must be asking? This story is out of this world, quite literally. Let me tell you what we are talking about. Scientists have found that a thick layer of diamonds may exist hundreds of miles beneath Mercury's surface. Yes, beneath Mercury's surface. Scientists, in fact, believe that Mercury was formed from the cooling of a hot lava ocean. This ocean, rich in silicate and carbon, eventually led to the crystallization of Mercury's outer crust and middle mantle, with metals forming a central core. For years, scientists thought Mercury's mantle conditions were perfect for carbon to form graphite. However, a 2019 study suggested Mercury's mantle might be 50 kilometers deeper than previously thought, significantly increasing the temperature and pressure at the mantle core boundary, creating conditions where carbon crystallizes into diamonds. And to explore this possibility, a team of Belgian and Chinese researchers recreated Mercury's conditions in a lab using carbon, silica, and iron mixtures resembling various meteorites. They simulated the magma ocean of young Mercury. The researchers crushed these chemical mixes under extreme temperature, simulating conditions deep within Mercury, which has a sulfur-rich surface. Their computer models provided precise measurements of the temperature and pressure near Mercury's core mantle boundary. And their investigations, published in a study, revealed that minerals like olivine likely developed in the mantle. However, when sulfur was added, the mixture solidified at much higher temperatures, increasing the likelihood of diamond formation. The team's model suggested diamonds might have formed during the solidification of Mercury's inner core, floating up to the core mantle due to their lower density. If present, these diamonds could form a layer about 15 kilometers thick. 15 kilometers thick. How fascinating, right? According to scientists at the Center for High Pressure Science and Technology Advanced Research in Beijing, who co-authored the study, mining these diamonds is not feasible. Besides the extreme temperatures on Mercury, the diamonds lie nearly 485 kilometers below the surface, making extraction impossible. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
Europe tries to nip the migration menace in the bud at a forum in Libya with the Italian Prime Minister warning people facilitating what she termed desperation of the fragile North Africans. Cameroonian LGBTQ+ rights group praises the courage of Brenda Biya, the daughter of Cameroon's president, for announcing she is in a same-sex relationship on social media. And suffering frequent war-triggered 15-hour power outages, Sudanese people escaped to the beach as temperatures soar in the coastal city of Port Sudan. World of Africa at these times on WION. World is One.
The countdown to the budget has begun. Expectations are high.
Upliftment of the health insurance sector, upliftment of the term insurance sector, and the pensions.
Time has come, right, where we need to build even greater physical and digital infrastructure.
The stakes are even higher.
GDP growth of 7% plus. My belief is before the end of the year, you're going to see it at 8.5.
They have done a tremendous job in the financial inclusion accounts of the PM General.
We crunch the numbers for you, the taxpayer.
On one side, this proposed 11 lakh crore spending on infrastructure. They should continue that.
India's overall population, there's a very small percentage of the population which is today covered under some kind of a formal insurance plan.
And bring you all the expert analysis. Catch continuous coverage of India's budget 2024-25 live on WION from 7 a.m. IST.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Faster, higher, stronger. Words that mean so much on a sporting pitch every 4 years.
ओलंपिक मेडल ने मुझे ये सिखाया कि किस तरीके से अपने आप को संभालना है.
The world's best sporting talents are assembling in Paris later this month. The quest for an Olympic medal is sport's greatest pursuit.
I think people are looking at the Olympics with a lot of hope. More than 200 countries all coming together.
The Olympic Games return to the French capital after a century.
There's not really any cities that compare to it.
Catch all the build-up to the Paris Games on WION. World is One. What does India want from the new government's budget? How will it respond to expectations from industry? What's in store for you, the taxpayer. Is the government using your hard-earned money wisely? WION cuts out the noise and serves you the facts. Watch continuous coverage on India Budget, Roadmap to a Developed Nation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injured have been moved, 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
Faster, higher, stronger. Words that mean so much on a sporting pitch every 4 years.
ओलंपिक मेडल ने मुझे ये सिखाया कि किस तरीके से अपने आप को संभालना है.
The world's best sporting talents are assembling in Paris later this month. The quest for an Olympic medal is sport's greatest pursuit.
I think people are looking at the Olympics with a lot of hope. More than 200 countries all coming together.
The Olympic Games return to the French capital after a century.
There's not really any cities that compare to it.
Catch all the build-up to the Paris Games on WION World is One.